Oh, absolutely. The mules just give that Terran the extra edge. So even if the harvesters are equal, then the Terran will pull ahead.
Right.
So it looks like we have a bunch of Marines up in the top left of the Terran base, along with a Viking. So
Yeah.
he saw the Void Rays. That was an appropriate response, and he's ready for the pressure. It looks like, though, because of those bunkers, that the Protoss player is not going to be too aggressive or not too successful in this poke, just because of all the defenses that are set up.
Yeah, definitely. Nothing is scarier than a turtling Terran. You know, it's so hard to punch those defenses. We can look at the army tab and see the huge discrepancy in the army. You know, Protoss with 1250 minerals, 600 gas. Terran only at 900 minerals, 150 gas. But because of those bunkers, he's able to hold this off.
Yeah, especially with Void Rays, you can't really target bunkers full of Marines uncharged just because of the way the mechanics work. You're not doing enough damage to take them down before you take significant damage or probably lose those Void Rays. So I guess it's a good choice by myself, the Protoss player, pulling out and not really overextending yourself. You'll see a lot of Protoss players who do a lot of early pressure, overextend themselves, and end up losing too much.
Looks like Protoss will be picking away at these rocks, opening up the back door. This is a really good play because we see that these bunkers are at the front, so not really ready to defend this backside. Looking at the Terran player's viewpoint, he doesn't even catch sight of this yet. Well, he does see the rock health going down, but it doesn't look like he's paying attention, else he'd be moving these bunkers over, moving his forces over to defend this.
And those Void Rays are going to be pretty deadly because they were charged. Unfortunately, they lost their charge, so there's a bit of the effectiveness gone.
The Terran player
had
does
they
already have 4 Vikings out, so it looks like he will be able to kite these Void Rays relatively easily.
Yeah, that's one very good thing about Vikings. You can kite those Void Rays to maximum effectiveness if you're careful.
Yeah, it seems like Terran is the ultimate siege race. They have the longest range out of pretty much all the units, you know, with 13 range tanks, 9 range air, and 10 range Thors. It's very deadly.
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree there. It's very unique that you can micro and kite something so effectively with that long range, though. So
Right. We do see that Protoss is putting up a proxy pylon up on this high ground, so it looks like he'll be continuing this aggression. I would like to see an expansion. Oh, never mind. Here comes an expansion of the Terran player. A lot of one basing going on. You know, lots of two starports, 2 barracks, and a factory off of one base. He really can't support all that. He really does need a expand soon.
if we take a look back at the income tab, the Protoss player's ahead 32 to 27. So 4 or 5 workers behind. He just jumped up to 28. But it shows that he would really, when he saw that attack coming, he had to stop pumping SCVs and really react by getting a lot of Vikings and a lot of Marines before he was ready to, before he could get that expansion up. So we're going to see how he deals with this. If you look up top, we have 2 Banshees incoming to the Protoss base.
Yeah, and Cloak is being researched, so these Banshees might do some damage. But, oh, a Phoenix coming out, and this is a really good response.
That's nice timing.
Yeah, we don't see it. Oh, it looks like the Phoenix was not paying attention. It's going to overshoot these Phoenix a little bit. But, yeah, this is a really nice response to Banshee Harass. I feel like not enough Protoss players do it, but if we think about it, you know, Banshees can't shoot back against a Phoenix. Phoenix do extra damage against, you know, light units, and a Banshee is light, so... one Phoenix could easily repel, you know, 2 or 3 Banshees even.
Yeah, and the Protoss player definitely came out ahead of that exchange. So Terran was not ready for the defenses that were there.
But
if we look over,
looks like the Protoss player is getting expansion himself. Just as the Terran player is gonna get his orbital, he does have to float that over. So it looks like, in terms of expansion timing, both players are relatively equal.
Yeah, it's safer to build the orbital in your main, as we see the Terran doing, so that's a really good play on his part. I think we just saw the Protoss player warp in a couple units inside the Terrans by that proxy pylon, bring them into the mineral line, and did a little bit of damage. I didn't catch how much, but it seemed to be fairly effective. We see the Terran player coming again with a Banshee of Viking over to the Protoss base.
To deflect this air rush. Looks like the Viking not paying attention this time. Banshee Cloak is done, so looks like the Protoss does not... Oh,
there's that Observer.
Nice Observer.
Observer pops out just in time.
Banshee not going to get any kills. Very nice. But, yeah, definitely really need an expansion here. We see that Protoss player is way oversaturated on his minerals. Got 2 tabs of probes and only on 1 base, so most of those probes aren't doing anything, just bouncing around between the mineral patches. Same thing on the Terran side. Both players desperately need an expansion.
I want to commend the Terran player here. He's done a lot of good harassment techniques so far. He dropped those Hellions. He's been constant with the Banshees and the Vikings, trying to keep the Protoss player on his toes. Unfortunately, it just hasn't worked out for him because of the way the defenses in the army has been set for the Protoss player. He's just run into the brick walls, or the Stalkers in this case. So he really hasn't been able to be too effective with that, which usually, I guess, puts him ahead.
Yeah. It looks like Terran is going for some very diverse tech. He's going for a pretty heavy air build with the Banshees, but also getting Ghosts in the mix. So the Ghost will be a nice counter to the Templar that are coming out for the Protoss.
Yeah, he did catch that Templar archive, so that's a really good response. We see him dropping his Vikings behind the mineral line, and that's a great technique.
This is exactly
on this
what we
map.
were talking about, you know, at the beginning of the map, where Terran has so much, you know, air-to-ground movement with drop ships and landing Vikings up on these high grounds, that this high ground between the two bases is really making a huge difference.
It really forces you, when you're on that low ground in the natural, it really forces you in that position to kill those rocks and make sure you have access to that high ground. Because if units get up on that high ground, you can easily snipe a lot of workers before you have a chance to react if you aren't paying attention.
We do see that Protoss is hiding a pylon down in the bottom left corner, so I don't know. What's that all about?
Well, in this case, I wanted to throw the Terran player off. I know he's invested a lot into different types of tech, and in that case, he has a very interesting unit mix. I really wanted to throw him off. He thinks he knows what's going on. He sees the Templar archives. He sees the tech structures I have up. So later on in the game, I put the pylon down. So later on in the game, if I needed to, I could sneak a Dark Templar tech down there and go in with some proxy pylons to his natural and snipe some SCVs off.
Yep. And it does look like the Terran player is doing much better on his macro. He's down at, you know, something near 100 resources, while the Protoss player is slipping a little bit up at 700 minerals. Should use those warp gates a little bit more often.
Yeah, if we look at the income tab, the players are very even as far as harvesters go. 55 for both players. That's very good at this point in the game. They've both done. It's pretty crazy that they're able to stay so close to each other this far into the game.
Yeah, and actually, a Terran player does have like several SCVs idle just in the mineral lineup at the expansion. It's a bit of a blunder on his part. You know, these players are playing in a show match that is being cast live, so a lot of nerves on both sides.
Yeah, I know a lot of, at least for us, as far as UT go, this was our third show match. I'm not sure if UTA had one, UT Arlington had one before. So if you've never played in a show match before, the nerves are a very interesting factor, as they do mean a lot, and it's surprising how much they actually do affect your gameplay.
Right. And we do see that Protoss is taking the third gold right now, which will put him economically ahead as soon as he's able to get that saturated. Meanwhile, I don't know, the Terran player is just sort of stagnating. He's got too many SCVs for the mineral patches he got, and he really needs to throw down a third or maybe even a fourth.
Yeah, we also see him throwing down a fusion core, so we could see battle cruisers pretty soon, which is always exciting. Also in the bottom left, we see the Dark Shrine by the Protoss player, like I said. Again, just kind of as an insurance thing to kind of catch the Terran player off guard. We'll see if that has any effects later on in the game. But it looks like both players are coming up with a pretty good army. It looks like the Terran, they're pretty even. Terran player's ahead food count, he has 139, while the Protoss is behind at 126.
Yeah.
And it looks like the Terran player is readying for some type of engagement up at the top middle.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to bust down these rocks and hopefully backdoor the Protoss player. I don't think he knows about this, although he does have a couple observers back there, but is he catching sight of this? Yes, he sees this barely, but if he's not watching his mini-map, could be in a lot of trouble. And
yeah, that observer replacement is pretty good because you can see that. I'm not sure if I saw that or not. We'll see here pretty soon. It's been a while since these games were played. So, all right, and the Terran player
is really out of position. He's got all his forces at the beginning of his turn. Oh, it looks like Terran will move up to the high ground and start harassing this mineral line. Once again, we see this high ground coming into play and doing a lot of.
Yeah, that's a really good technique by that Terran player. That Ghost got off a really nice EMP there. Unfortunately, the Terran player has kind of backed himself into a corner as far as these
lots of storms landing down right on top of the Terran army. Terran not really microing. Should be using those Ghosts to EMP those Templar, but nothing coming in really. And we see a stim and more storms just doing tons of damage to those already weak units.
There's no feeling better than storming a giant marauder ball like that when they back themselves into a corner. I can say firsthand that that's a great great thing to pull off.
Absolutely. At high levels of play, you just absolutely cannot let your infantry ball just sit in a storm like that. You have to micro them out. There's no way of
Stimming
talking
kite
about it.
out.
Right. Uh,
It looks.
yeah, I was gonna say, Protoss, not much of a main army, but does have a lot of Templar. That's gonna do a lot of damage, even if he doesn't have a huge main army.
And of course, with all those warp gates, it's pretty easy to quickly replenish your army and get backed up to a good size. So you see some Marines on the Zelnaga Watchtower attacking the Protoss from above. So,
Yeah.
and one nice storm takes care of those.
Right. And here's that
I'm
storm.
wondering.
And all of those Marines die in one storm. Let's try to find that Templar. That must have been like, what, 12 kills or something like that?
Cruisers come out. Oh, 12 kills. That's nice. Wondering if we're going to see any of those battle cruisers come out soon.
Yeah, one battle cruiser is already out. Another one at the top of the map. Looks like he's going to deny this Warp Prism harass that the Protoss was going for. But it does look like Terran player is getting a heavy attack at the top. It looks like he's not going to be able to hold this just by the amount of force that Protoss has.
The Terran player had 64 SCVs mining from that one natural expansion, so he really could have benefited from expanding earlier with all those minerals.
I mean, with that many SCVs on those mineral patches, you might as well just long distance mine, because if they're not long distance mining, they're not doing anything.
Yeah, half of those are not doing anything. You see 2 battle cruisers and a couple idle marauders down below.
Very painful storm landing on a huge infantry ball. Lots of SCVs and marauders and marines dying there. Another storm landing up all these SCVs that are trying to repair the battle cruisers.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be pretty close, but both those battle cruisers do look like they're going to go down.
Yeah, it looks like he's just going to get out-muscled here. And keep in mind that this whole time he's not even mining from any mineral patches. So, with Protoss on 3 base, mining off of 2, he's definitely losing. And there's the GG.
There's the GG from Cheeseblock. Very well played by both players. I'm surprised how close it was there in the middle. The economies were very similar, but I think the storms really put the Protoss player ahead there in the end.
Right. I would say that in the early game PvT, Terran has an advantage with Marauder, Stim, Concussive Shell Micro, but in the end, Templar Tech and Colossi Tech is just so strong. And I think the big deal in this game was when Protoss took that third and Terran didn't expand. That's when really the turning of the tide was.
Absolutely. I think the Terran player could have also benefited from a couple ghosts avidly using EMP. I know we saw one EMP earlier, but it didn't have the best placement. However, that could have easily negated a lot of those Templars. Unfortunately, he just didn't get the tech out in time.
Right.
So good game by both players. That means the series is now tied up 2-2. So we'll see what the next games have in store.
All right, let's move on.